It was a violent end to an otherwise peaceful May Day. Hours earlier, we watched as a crowd marched around the South Waterfront, clashing at what was advertised as a May Day after-party. Make no mistake about it, these two groups do not like each other.
Masked figures surround a group of senior citizens, their voices rising in anger. "How dare you!" they shout as the elderly patriots stand their ground. This isn't a scene from a dystopian novel, it's real footage from Portsmouth, and it's happening right now. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. But there's more to this story than meets the eye. As we dive deeper into the incident, we'll uncover the complex web of tensions that led to this moment. Are you ready to see beyond the headlines?
No hate, no fear. Refugees are welcome here. No hate, no fear. Our streets! Our streets! Our streets!
The streets of Portsmouth became an unexpected battleground, transforming from a site of peaceful protest to a chaotic scene of confrontation. What started as a gathering of elderly patriots voicing their concerns about a Palestine demonstration quickly spiraled into something far more volatile. The arrival of Antifa members marked a turning point as the atmosphere shifted palpably from one of vocal disagreement to physical intimidation. Eyewitnesses describe a sudden change in the air as masked figures approached the group of elderly protesters. One onlooker recounted, "It was like watching a storm roll in. One minute, people were exchanging heated words, and the next, there was this ominous feeling that things were about to get out of hand." But what exactly led to this powder keg situation? The roots of the confrontation run deep, tapping into a complex web of political polarization and social media echo chambers. These factors have been steadily amplifying divisions in communities across the nation, creating an environment ripe for public confrontations. In Portsmouth, we saw these tensions play out in real time. The elderly patriots, motivated by their concerns about the Palestine demonstration, found themselves face to face with Antifa members who arrived with their own agenda. The clash of ideologies was immediate and intense, with both sides digging in their heels. As the situation escalated, the line between passionate debate and physical intimidation blurred. The moment when words gave way to more aggressive actions marked a critical juncture in the incident. For many of the elderly counter-protesters, this crossing of the line was deeply unsettling, transforming their act of civic engagement into a frightening confrontation. The chaos that ensued raises serious questions about public safety and the right to peaceful assembly. Similar confrontations involving Antifa have occurred in other cities, notably Portland, where law enforcement has faced criticism for their hands-off approach during protests.
Telling us that there was many 60 people fighting in the streets involved in this. KGW's Mike Benner joins us live downtown.
Peaceful day of protesting. In fact, tonight, Portland police sent out a press release saying that aside from some blocked streets, there were no arrests and no use of force by officers. There was the brawl in northeast Portland, and by the time officers arrived, we can tell you that Antifa and Patriot Prayer had separated.
This pattern of escalation and limited police intervention is becoming a concerning trend across the nation. In Portsmouth, as the dust settled and tensions began to ease, the aftermath left a community grappling with difficult questions. How can we protect the right to protest while ensuring public safety? What role should law enforcement play in these situations? And perhaps most importantly, how can we bridge the divides that lead to such confrontations in the first place?
While all of this played out, police stayed on the sidelines, and we heard from a lot of you asking why didn't they intervene.
As the dust settled on the chaotic streets of Portsmouth, a glaring question emerged. Where were the police during this tumultuous clash? The answer, it seems, is both simple and deeply troubling. They were there, but they didn't act. Eyewitness accounts paint a perplexing picture of law enforcement's role, or lack thereof, during the confrontation. Many reported seeing officers present at the scene, a reassuring sight in theory, but as tensions escalated and the situation spiraled into chaos, these same witnesses were left baffled by the apparent lack of intervention. It's a scenario that challenges our fundamental expectations of police behavior in times of crisis. So why the hands-off approach? The reasons, it turns out, are as complex as they are controversial. Experts suggest that modern police strategies for managing protests often prioritize de-escalation and community engagement. It's an approach that, on paper, sounds reasonable. After all, who wouldn't want to avoid inflaming an already tense situation? But as we've seen in Portsmouth, and indeed in cities across the nation, the effectiveness of these strategies is increasingly called into question. Political pressures play a significant role in shaping police responses to public demonstrations. In an era of heightened scrutiny and viral videos, law enforcement agencies often find themselves walking a tightrope. Intervene too forcefully and they risk accusations of brutality. Stand back and they're labeled as ineffective. It's a lose-lose situation that leaves many officers feeling paralyzed. But at what cost does this paralysis come? Critics argue that when police fail to intervene in violent confrontations, it erodes public trust in law enforcement. The sight of officers standing idly by as chaos unfolds sends a chilling message to vulnerable community members. You're on your own. It's a perception that, once ingrained, can be incredibly difficult to shake.
He says police did not want to escalate the situation and chose to contain everything to this space.
Rose says police officers made the right choice and didn't overreact. He did not comment on Green's injuries or say if the decision to contain the protest was worth the safety risk.
Local law enforcement, for their part, have attempted to justify their approach to the Portsmouth protests. Their statements indicate a focus on balancing First Amendment rights with community safety, a noble goal to be sure. Officers, were told, monitored the situation but refrained from intervening, citing the need to allow people to express their views peacefully. But as fists flew and tensions soared, one has to wonder, at what point does the right to free speech give way to the need for public safety? The Portsmouth incident isn't just a local scuffle, it's a stark reminder of the widening chasms in our society. As the dust settles on the streets, we're left grappling with a troubling reality. Our public spaces are becoming battlegrounds rather than forums for debate. But there's hope. Experts are calling for urgent action, emphasizing the need for communities to bridge these political divides before they become unbridgeable canyons. It's not all doom and gloom though. Some communities are already stepping up to the plate. Grassroots initiatives are popping up, fostering conversations between groups that would typically be at each other's throats. These aren't just feel-good kumbaya sessions. They're real attempts to find common ground in a landscape that seems increasingly alien and hostile. So what's the takeaway for you, dear viewer? It's time to take a long, hard look in the mirror. Are you part of the problem or the solution? The experts are clear. We need more community forums and workshops aimed at promoting respectful dialogue. It's not about agreeing on everything. It's about remembering that the person across the aisle is human too. The future of civil discourse is in our hands. Will we rise to the challenge or let it slip through our fingers?